Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Dry Pink Dialogue. We're about 60 seconds since Inter Miami finished off Sporting Kansas City in the CONCACAF Champions Cup with a 3-1 victory. I think it was fun, but also easy in a lot of ways because Inter Miami was able to score 3 first-half goals. The first goal felt like it really put a dent in any SKC chances, and then 2 goals in stoppage time of the first half really ended this tie. I think there was a little bit of danger from Sporting Kansas City in the first half. We can talk about it, but this is the raw reaction, the instant reaction from the Dry Pink Dialogue, which means we're not going to analyze it. We will do that tomorrow. We'll rewatch the game. We'll do player awards and all that stuff tomorrow. Tonight, it's all about you guys. How did you feel about that game? Saur, how did you feel about that game? And I guess I'll ask myself, how did I feel about that game? But I'll start with this. I'm your host, Scotty. I'm here with my co-host, Saur. How did you feel about that game?
I'm buzzing. We won. That's all we needed. Played really well, a professional game of football. Some really good football, some really positive stuff to take away from that game. The second half was a bit of a no affair because obviously we scored 3 in the first half, and after that, kind of fell flat. So I feel like my buzz that was at the end of the first half sort of got killed towards the end of the second half because not much happened. Kansas did have a little bit of threat, created some really good opportunities in that first half, especially before we scored the goal, and then controlled a lot of the first half. But I think Inter Miami just had the quality and the talent in the pitch to basically not ever reach 4th gear or 3rd gear. I think we were cruising through in cruise control throughout that game, and that's all we needed to get the job done. Some really positive football, as I've already said. Messi being Messi with a beautiful goal. Suarez opens his account as well. So yeah, 3-1. I think the scoreline reflects how we played. Overall, a positive performance.
So Luis Suarez, goal and an assist. How does that make you feel?
I mean, of course, makes me feel very happy. I have no personal agenda against Suarez. Every time he's on the score sheet, that's for the betterment of the team. I think overall, he wasn't that great. He had a couple of really good moments, but other than that, he doesn't offer much up top. But the goal is all that matters, and that assist is all that matters. That first goal that he created with that pass to Messi, I mean, Messi still had a lot to do. But I think it was what this game needed for us to just calm down a little bit, and that 2-0 lead was exactly what Inter Miami needed at that point in time. So very crucial from Suarez. A few good moments from him, but overall a decent performance. I don't think he was exceptional by any means, but a really well taken goal, bullied his man off the ball, and then the finish was really good. And then a really nice assist as well. Overall, a very positive performance. I would say, I mean, the top 2 performers, perhaps just because of his goal contributions, but overall he had a good game, decent game.
Yeah, Luis Suarez, I mean, this is what he is.
Yeah, absolutely.
At this point. Like, I get he's not going to be an incredible 90-minute player, but he's going to show up and get you goals and assists, and that's what's going to help you advance to the next round. Again, I think that's the best you can, like that's a normal Luis Suarez performance. And
by the way, I predicted a hat trick, so I expected him to score, and he did well. So good for him. I really like him.
Sure. Lionel Messi. I mean, at the moment of the game was in the 19th minute. Let me see if I can find it here. The 19th minute, Luis Suarez puts the ball, he gets the ball forward, but he can't do anything with it. So he pushes it back to Messi, and then Messi sort of takes it off his chest, and then off the volley slams it home. I thought Manu Garcia was going to stop him from behind. He kind of hesitates, and that's all Messi needed. Slams it home to give Inter Miami the 1-0 lead, 2-0 on aggregate, and then it all of a sudden felt like an impossible task for Sporting Kansas City at that point.
Yeah, and before that, I think they were knocking on the door. And even after that, honestly, they did try and come back into the game. They were controlling the game really well. Inter Miami had to do a lot of work off the ball. We had to keep our shape. We were chasing shadows for a large part of that game. And I want to pin that down to maybe a little bit of fatigue from the last 2 games that we've played. But overall, we still kept our shape well. We defended really well when we needed to. When Kansas was a little bit on top of us, I think, in that first half. We defended well and made sure they didn't have any clear-cut opportunities. And then we just grabbed our opportunities with both hands. I think the first half we had 3 shots, all 3 of them resulted in goals. So that's what matters. You're clinical. As soon as you get an opportunity, you score. And Messi's goal was by no means an easy goal. It was
No. I mean,
he had
he's
so
had a
much
magic
work to do.
moment in all
Yeah.
3 games so far.
He
It
had
is
so much work to do.
incredible. Okay. Let's get to Maxi Falcon. And by the way, I apologize. I was late to getting this published onto YouTube. So as we're waiting for the chat to get going, we'll get to Maxi Falcon because that's the first one. Cynical Tube says, Falcon, let's go. He has a goal-saving play on the goal line, right? Because he gets himself to the back line and makes the stop. He had a nice use his head type moment that I think we could get a good picture of. But I think he was just really solid all the way around. Obviously, the goal for Sporting Kansas City is not his fault. So I thought 8 out of 10 performance, really impressive.
Very, very solid. I have no complaints with his performance. Very impressed, actually, with how he conducted himself out there. Looked professional, looked like a veteran, honestly. He was just marshalling the troops in the back. I thought he'd be a little bit more athletic than he is, but I was spot on about his ability to actually command the box because he did that really well. He had a couple of really good tackles in on Eric Tommy. He obviously had that goal line clearance. And I think 3 of my favorite moments in this game, 2 of those belong to Falcon. One was the goal line clearance. The second was the one that you mentioned, him not using his legs, even though the ball was right there for him to just boot out or use a tackle, but instead going in with his head. That was really fun to watch. I think he's going to become a bit of a cult hero with this Inter Miami fan base because he just plays with that heart and that audacity I really like, and that confidence. And his hair is something to write home about. You can really tell when he's on the pitch. Very solid performance, 8 out of 10 for sure.
He certainly stands out from a physical perspective because of the hair. But, the type of player that puts his head into a ball on the floor, that was interesting. No, he doesn't seem super quick, but that's okay if you're smart. That's the whole thing about being a defender is you don't have to be quick if you're smart. And the hard part about young defenders is they haven't developed that wisdom and that intelligence yet. And so they have to rely on their athleticism and they can get themselves in trouble. But Falcon, hopefully, is the one guy on this roster that we've been asking for years that can be athletic enough, but still bring the intelligence and being.
Yeah, he was keeping pace with the Kansas City offense.
Yeah, he didn't have to go up against any of their super pacey players, though.
Yeah. But also, I think his positioning was really good. He just knew where to be at the right time. And he was, as you said, athletic enough and strong enough to beat people out. And most of his job, I think, involved getting his body in the way of shots or being in the right position for that last-ditch tackle. And I think that's what his role is going to be moving forward. I actually, after this game, I'm not sure whether he's going to be our starting centre-back at the start of the season. But I do think he might establish himself as that because he's just going to be that veteran, strong presence at the back. I'm really liking our defensive options so far.
This feels like right now. And okay, so I want to say one thing that leads us into the next comment from Anton. He brought on Noah Allen first.
Captain Noah Allen, by the way.
Hold on, we'll get to that. He brought on Noah Allen first. And I think the reason he did that was because he thinks Noah Allen and Falcon are going to start Saturday. And he wanted to give them 15 minutes on the field together.
Falcon looked more comfortable on that right side, by the way. He looked a lot more aggressive on that right side.
I agree. Those two, I think, are going to start on Saturday. I think that's why Noah Allen was the first sub, because he wanted to give them 15 minutes of film to sort of work on over the course of the week. Aviles is obviously suspended. Gonzalo Lujan, I feel like, is not going to get that start. And I think he tipped his hand by doing that. Okay, so one of the coolest things about tonight is that, as Anton says,
that was my third favorite moment
as captain. I've been saying this for the last couple of games, but he feels like a veteran back there, just the way he plays. And we've seen him be fiery and have the tenacity that you need as a center back, or that helps as a center back. But now to feel like a veteran when you're on the ball, even when he feels like he's about to get in trouble, he doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like that to me. He feels like he's going to get out of it no problem. So he feels like a veteran on the field. it is unbelievable and yet undeniable that I think he could be our starting center back alongside Maxi Falcon. What'd you think of? I mean, he didn't do a ton today. He was helpful in keeping possession at the end and helping kill the game. But unlike the last couple games, he came off the bench and he just settled the game down and helped them see it out.
It speaks so much about Noah Allen as a player that he got to captain the team in the second half when Messi went off. That is a big vote of confidence from the coaching staff.
Yeah.
First of all, I think kudos and hats off to the coaching staff and Javier Mascherano for having the audacity to give it to.
I think that was a Messi decision, which is even better. I think
it's
even better.
If it was Messi, even more so. If it was Javier Mascherano, well done. Whoever it was to make that decision, I think he deserves it. He's been playing at that level. He's been playing so well that he has demonstrated not just in his play style and gameplay, but also in the way he's been playing confidently. And as you mentioned, almost feels like a veteran presence in that back. Am I surprised? A little bit, for sure. But I think this is his progression since last season that we're seeing, right? His trajectory is just going upwards and upwards. And honestly, it's beautiful to watch because that for me was the favorite moment of the game. Forget the goals and the win. I think that for me was the best part, seeing him with that armband in the back. Phenomenal. Such a good feeling.
Yes, Craig says that he's the first homegrown to ever wear the armband. If that's true, that's awesome. Congratulations. Absolutely. He is, I think, the first of this generation of homegrowns that really broke out for Inter Miami. Back in 2022 is when he sort of acclimated to the first team. And congratulations to him. He deserves it. And it's like not just that he's playing, it's how he's playing. It's so calm. It's so composed. It's so like not relaxed, but just comfortable. And it's amazing that he's not a center back and he's doing this. And he looks like he's been playing center back his whole life. And maybe he will. This is, I think, I'm starting to think he might actually end up being a center back for the first time ever.
As well.
Because I like him at a left back. I think he profiles really well there. Dude, he's just so comfortable. He may not
be here long, honestly. I'll be honest. He may not be here long.
Okay. Taran says, okay, I saw a couple of these. Taran says, is Messi injured? Miami King says, is Messi injured? I don't have any reason to think that unless someone's reporting that on Twitter or whatever. But, from the site, he came off, I think, had to come off first. Obviously, the Noah Allen thing, I think, is just to get him partnership with Falcon. But Noah Allen Lionel Messi coming off, he had to, because that gives you options going into this weekend. Our next game Sunday, 5 days off. It's going to feel like a vacation for us because we haven't had 5 days off in a long time. But now you can start him on Sunday if you want to. I still think I would give him 30 minutes off the bench, 40 minutes off the bench going into that game in Jamaica. But I think this gives you options. You had to do this.
Yeah, and also you wanted to see what some of the other players were able to do without Messi on the pitch. I know Segovia moved into the middle. I'll be screaming for the rest of the season for him to play in that middle because I think he's better there. Allende moved up top when Suarez was taken off. You got Benjamin Kramaski come on, play that right wing role, which I thought he looked good in. There was a lot of different looks that you could get once Messi came off, because there are going to be times in this season when you are going to rely on players to play without Messi in the team. So he had done his job. We were cruising. We don't need to overrun him into the ground. I have no reason to believe he's injured. I think it's just managing his minutes. And honestly, the perfect way to manage it, bring him off in the 67th minute. Perfect. Allows you enough time to test out a few things with other players around. So I like that move.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I wanted him off earlier, but that's why he had to come off. And this allows you to play him on Sunday in a more fulfilling way, I think. And one of the problems about Saturday night's draw is that you now feel like more pressure to get a win on Sunday in game 2 to sort of get your season going. If you get another draw or you lose, all of a sudden you got 1 point, other teams have 6. They start to have like a 5-point gap already. And it's like, it doesn't feel great, even though it's still early. And so you want to go out and win on Sunday. But with this game, with next week, you have to manage all of it. Getting this win, getting some minutes, not having a super intense game, right? Like that's the other thing about this. If they won on the last second, it would have been awesome. But also you're talking about so many more intense minutes of play and much harder on the body. To be able to get the 3-0 lead going into halftime, I thought was huge because it allows you to relax and rest and then even substitute a few guys. Okay, Skrilla says, and there's a couple comments on Ian Fray. Sloppy, I think is how I would describe it.
Yeah. I think he was tired. You could see the tiredness in his legs. For large parts, though, I think defensively he was very good. I disagree with this comment. Fray was getting beat. I don't think so. He had Tommy's number. He didn't get beat even once with Tommy, but his on the ball passing was not that good. He gave the ball away quite a lot in difficult positions. I know he had a few good moments where he dribbled out of danger, but yeah, I would agree. Fray was a little bit ball insecure, but I think defensively he did a good job, and that's okay. I think it's understandable. It can happen from time to time.
No,
Still
yeah,
a
we
young
saw
player.
Jordi Alba do it Saturday night. So
Jordi Alba also, I remember. We'll talk about Jordi Alba, so I'll get to it then. But yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Jordi Alba had that game last game, and Fray can have that as well today. He was getting pressured a lot on that side, pressed on that side, so he was definitely a pressing trigger for that team. But I think he did well defensively. He had an average performance, so he was fine.
I that's the thing about Ian Fray. He's so immature from a minutes played as a professional perspective that you should expect some inconsistency. But again, even in what I would consider a poor performance from Ian Fray by his standards, you still had some really interesting ball progression, like things that DeAndre Ayling could never do, or Franco Negri could never do, or most right backs in the MLS can't do. So like stick with them and iron out those kinks.
Absolutely.
And if this is the bad game, you feel good about it. And again, like you said, I think I was a little worried about Ian Fray. I think I made him my circle of the lineup pregame because that Eric Tommy matchup, he is a little tricky. And I thought Ian Fray handled Tommy well.
I thought he handled him really well.
It was, and the other thing is, I think there was a couple giveaways where Ian Fray was expecting to or trying to get a foul called, and he didn't get the foul called.
Yeah.
And he maybe gets those foul calls in the MLS where he doesn't in CONCACAF. And so maybe we're looking at this differently if a couple of those turnovers are actually
pleasantly surprised by how strong Ian Fray actually is. He showed strength in a few instances where he just bullied Tommy off the ball or just did not let Tommy get the ball off him. And he looked good in those situations.
Blazes said everyone played a great game.
I don't think so.
I thought Messi played a great game.
I think everyone else
Falcon
was average.
Played a great game. I thought there was a lot of very average performances.
I think Ustari was average. Fray was okay, not that great. Alba, I think, for large parts of that first half was absolutely poor, and then had that assist, which I was like, bless me for jinxing him, because that's how you respond. But yeah, I don't think Alba was great in that game. Busquets had a couple of turnovers. I thought Redondo was really good. He was really good with his tackling and interceptions. I was very surprised. Underrated today. I thought Segovia was average. Allende, I don't think, had much to do this game apart from that goal. So yeah, there were instances where everything clicked in place. But I will caveat all of that by saying that I don't think there was a need for us to go to that next gear, right? It didn't feel like there was an urgency for us to do more or do better. It didn't require that. And I'm fine with it. It's completely understandable. So, I think a lot of average performances, which was fine for this game.
Brad says they may have finally found our KA. I don't know. Is that a periodic table thing? Miami King says Falcon will play a big role in chasing cups this year. Anton, I had to go with this one. So glad Suarez got a goal. Scotty might just prove Saur wrong. Let's be real. It's Suarez proving Saur wrong.
Yeah.
But it is always fun to have Saur proven wrong. Mistiano says they need to be better with possession. So many bad giveaways. One of the things that, like we just talked about how I agree with you. I think there was a lot of sort of average performances. That might not fly quite as well when you're playing the Liga MX team clubs, right? Next week or the next round, we're going to play Cavalier, which is a Jamaican club. Inter Miami is going to be huge favorites in that. They'll probably not be as good as Sporting Kansas City. But from that point on in the quarterfinals, you're going to get LAFC or Columbus, who I still think Inter Miami are significantly better than, but you're not going to be able to not play well and still get away with it. And then if you move into the Monterreys or the Club Americas in the final, semifinal type games, you're going to have to play well, especially if you have to go on the road in like a do or die moment. This performance is not going to get that done, but they didn't need it tonight. And so like, I think that was a big part of why they didn't have it, is because they didn't really need it.
Yeah, and I was going to make a point before I completely forgot what I was going to say. Um, it's something to do with why we did not play well. Oh
Well,
well, maybe
the
I'll come
Kansas
back to
Sporting
it.
Kansas City came after us.
Yeah, they
Like
they they
we
played
talked about
decent.
this in the
Yeah,
in the pregame. They came out early and hard, and especially once Inter Miami scored, they were coming after us. And Inter Miami was like handling it, but we're like they weren't going to get the time and space on the ball to just have Busquets dictate, and like that wasn't going to happen. And
I remember that point.
We know Aviles is not the best playing out of the back. We know Ian Fray had a couple turnovers. There was some interesting, I think, patterns of movement from Jordi Alba in this game, heading into the midfield to try and find those running lanes forward. But it felt like they were trying to play really quick going forward. And when they gave the ball away, then they were sort of put under pressure. But yeah, go ahead.
And a big point of that, I think, has to do with fatigue. We've played 3 games in what, 7 days,
Yeah,
eight
but
days?
so is Sporting Kansas City.
Yeah, but I think the quality of the game reflects that heavy legs, one pass. When you rely on those quick passes and you have heavy legs, the passes can either fall short or get overhit. It's a little bit more difficult. So we have to contextualize it. I think in the grand scheme of things, the team played really well. They got the job done. Second half, they didn't really need to do much to actually hit that level of quality either. I would say in the first half, when Kansas City was, I think, better and on top of the game and were coming at us, we kept our defensive shape really well. We defended really well. Everyone knew what their role was. And our transition game has really improved because that's where we were getting all the opportunities. As soon as that ball goes into Messi in the midfield and he just turns and faces the goal with Suarez, Allende, maybe Segovia in front of him, it's a dangerous opportunity because everyone's just running towards that goal to get a chance at shooting the ball. So I really like what Javier Mascherano has done with our transition game because it doesn't feel like a slow build up anymore. It's quick, but that comes at the expense of sometimes giving the ball away cheaply
Possession.
when you're trying to move it so quickly.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Inter Miami balances that. And that I think is something they're going to improve on over the course of the season. So I'm not worried about it, but they're going to have to figure out how to pick their moments so that in a game like this, when you need to just sit on the ball and kill the game, you can do that effectively without giving the opposition thoughts that you're going to be able to let them back in the game. Blazes says Segovia was the best player of the game. He had that moment at the beginning of the second half where he kind of gets it from Messi, like turns and then just puts a little ball over to Messi. Messi fires and it's sort of right at Pulskamp, the keeper for Sporting Kansas City. But that would have been like a highlight reel pass if that turns into a goal. He was, I thought, really good. We saw he's the backup to Messi. I think we've been talking about that all since we got him, but I think that was clarified tonight. He's the backup number 10, and I thought he looked really good in the midfield. He's an awesome player. I still don't know how I feel about him on the left, that's his best place, but he's good there, and I really like him as a player.
He had a couple of really good moments. One was that pass. Another, I think he took a player on and beat them. There was another opportunity that he had where he got a pass from Allende and should have finished the ball, and I think he hit it wide. So his movement, his dribbling, and his running is really good. Off the ball running is fantastic. I thought he was much better in the midfield when he was playing in that Messi role, distributing the ball, trying to dictate play in the middle of the park. I agree with you. I don't know what his left side role looks like. I think it's going to be that Gomez situation where we want him to keep playing in the middle of the park, but he's probably going to play more out left. Regardless, I thought he was good. I don't think he had a phenomenal game, but he was fine. Like he had a really nice moments, and it worked out really well for him in some instances. And I want to just see him grow into this team because he's going to be a fantastic player for us.
He feels like every game he's had like 2 or 3 really nice moments, and it feels like he hasn't had a complete 90-minute game yet. But when that complete 90-minute game comes, it's going to be Diego Gomez-esque when he just can destroy a game.
Absolutely.
Mark says, something I picked up on while at the game, I'd like to see us play the switched balls more often. It's there a ton. If we could find it, it'll alleviate pressure out of the back and allow us to play quickly. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one thing that we're trying to do is when we're building out the back, I think create overloads on one side and then isolate the other side completely. Allende is often free on that right wing because he stretches the field out so much, and then everyone's just drifting towards the left side with Alba on the ball. And as soon as the ball goes into either Busquets or sometimes even Alba himself, they can just pop it off to Allende. And Allende had a couple of really good takedowns from the top as well. Really good touch, was able to run in behind. I agree. I think we should be doing that more often. I wish we can do that more often because that gets us out of pressure immediately and creates a goal scoring opportunity immediately. So I think that will come with time. We're really trying that on one side of the pitch at least.
But it's kind of what you said, right? Like if you don't pull it off, you're talking about giving up possession. And even if you do pull off the pass, right? We saw a couple times the ball went to De Allende and he had just a little bit of a heavy touch, which is very understandable on a long ball like that. And it turns into a change of possession. So it's a balancing act, I think. But you're right. They do create goal scoring opportunities if you can get them right. Mistiano says Redondo and Busquets slowest midfield. How'd you feel about the midfield tonight?
I thought it was fine. We got beat up a couple of times, and there were some instances where I saw that one pass and we were completely opened up in the middle. But I thought Redondo had a really good game in terms of his recoveries. He was really good with winning the ball back. I'll have to watch it again to make sure I saw what I saw, but I thought he was very positive. Where other players might have had a fairly average game, I thought he went under the radar. He had a good performance in the middle of the park. So I wasn't too concerned about the midfield. I think this structure suits the midfield a little bit better. I don't think it's the perfect midfield by any means. It's still slow and it does get beat a lot. And against better oppositions, we might get found out. But the structure does help the midfield a little bit more. And you see Jordi Alba come in as well sometimes. Messi comes back to dictate play from the middle. So it's getting there. I'm just concerned whether we will be the same against someone like Columbus, where they're going to have those runners in the middle. But today it was
that's the whole thing to me, is it's like those number 10s that are really athletic. Hani Mukhtar. Do we play Dallas this year? I think we do. We'll play Lucho Acosta at Dallas, Evander for Cincinnati. I'm sure Columbus will bring in someone in that sort of role at some point this summer. So I think we haven't seen the test yet, but I did think Redondo had, I think maybe his best game for Inter Miami, off the top of my head, his best game from like his own half of the field perspective. I thought he was really good. So I don't know. I also want to rewatch it, but I thought he was doing a lot of really good things defensively that we don't always see from him. Janice says, any news on why Messi was subbed off, not injury? So as far as we know, it was just to give him a little extra rest so that he's better for the weekend. Felix says Segovia coming from the left is like an inside forward while Alba goes wide. That movement is perfect. That sounds perfect on paper, and then you watch it and you don't see the spacing exactly like you like it. So I will just be careful with that. I also don't think he's like a inside forward. He's playing more as like a wide midfielder that just sort of drifts forward. I don't know. It still has a work to go. I'm not saying it's not going to work. It could just be a chemistry.
I mean, the goal came from that side with Alba ditching the ball off to Allende. So, but I don't think it was a direct symptom of Segovia coming into the center. So I think there was more of Alba.
Like there's still and then the real problem I have with it is that I think Segovia interrupts the passing lanes that Messi and Suarez are trying to create when he does cut inside. So like you have this trio that has all these really well-worked patterns of play in Jordi Alba, Messi, and Suarez, but you don't want to do anything to interrupt them. So that like you don't want to get in Jordi's way, but you also don't want to interrupt the passing lanes between Messi and Suarez. It's a whole thing. So,
I will say I think our right side looks a lot better drilled right now than our left side.
It also looks a lot better than it did last year. Like it was not that right side of the field was just not something we used last year.
Yeah.
And now it looks good. Yeah.
Maybe that's why it looks good, because we haven't seen any of it
exactly.
play out.
Kira says Falcon is a beast. Felix says Pogba won't be a bad signing, but I prefer deep role for him with Boosie. I'd be shocked if that happens. Alfonso says I missed the game later, but I will type my opinion on the game later as well. We'll look for it in the comments.
Yeah, we'll do a post-game show tomorrow, so join us for that. That'll be good for you.
Yeah. Janet says Cavalier a threat or beatable? you have any thoughts on Cavalier yet?
I haven't done my research. I want to make sure I make an informed comment about it. But I think Inter Miami is going to be the favorite in that game.
Here's what I will say. Going away on the road in CONCACAF, and this is the first time Inter Miami's really done this, right? I know Monterrey was tough last year, but going on the road to the Caribbean nations, to the Central American nations, this is a new experience. It's completely different than going to another MLS team or to Mexico. Some Mexican clubs are kind of like this, but the Caribbean clubs for sure. The field is going to be bad. The conditions aren't going to be great. The hotel's not going to be great. Like, it's going to be tough environment. I think it's going to be similar to what they saw last week in Kansas City, where the team is much better. The quality of players in Inter Miami is much better, but the conditions of the game are going to be really annoying to deal with. So it's just a matter of how do you deal with that, and can you still get the goal or two that you really want? But I still think I'm going to predict like a 3-0 win on the road, and like, you know, a name your scoreline pick at home.
Yeah.
But I think Inter Miami could lose 3-0 in Jamaica and still win that tie. So I'm not worried about it. I'm really not. Ash says the team seems too comfortable playing on our back third instead of trying to clear the ball. Interesting point. I don't know if I like it or not, but I'm leaning towards I like it because we've been winning. Like, it'll be really annoying if we start losing.
When it comes off, it's beautiful to watch. When it doesn't come off, it's a little bit annoying because then we get pinned back. There were a couple of instances where we played out from the back and the ball went from Aviles to Fray to the middle to Busquets to back to Fray to Messi, and we were out. And that took like 5 passes and we were out. When that works, it looks stunning to watch. When it doesn't work, we get pinned out. They get a throw in, they get a corner, they shoot a goal. It's a little bit annoying. Overall, I think I like what I'm seeing right now because the team is getting more comfortable being able to do that. Doesn't look always pretty, but you have to try sometimes, especially against the lesser teams.
It feels like it has looked pretty so far. Like, I don't think Inter Miami in either the preseason or the early part of the season has gotten caught out with it. But again, like,
I remember last preseason, it was awful when we were trying to play out from the back, and now it looks a lot more comfortable.
Yeah, and listen, but like, again, that Drake Calendar pass to Brandon Vasquez that cost us a goal against Monterrey. Like, if that happens, all of a sudden you hate it. So it's like,
absolutely,
you know, and it's, you know, I get people are going to say Drake Calendar. Ustadi is capable of that. Toto Aviles is capable of that. Chelo Wigan is capable of that. We'll see about Maxi Falcon, but Jordi Alba is obviously capable of that, as we saw this weekend. So, like, it only takes one bad goal to really change your mind on that. Anyways, the Devon Knit says this team is nasty. The defense is finally looking right. Attack finding rhythm. Here we come. Here's the one thing I wanted to talk about. Well, I'll let you respond to that, and then I have my one final thing.
Yeah, I think it's finally coming together. One thing I've noticed is the balance is right. It doesn't look like one thing or the other is missing. The pieces are all on the board. It's just a matter of making sure that those pieces actually perform their duties well. And so far, all the problems that we've seen on the pitch are self-created. We pass the ball to the opposition. We make a wayward pass. We lose the ball in cheap places. All of that is fixable. The system is in place, and that's what I'm liking about this team so far. The defense seems to be sorted. We're playing more compact. We're creating opportunities up top. The fluidity up top in the attack is there. So overall, a lot of positives in the 3 games that we played competitively.
Yeah, to that point, the coolest thing is it feels like the spine of the team has the same instructions almost every game, or basically every game. Like, the spine of the team is going to be able to build a ton of chemistry, and they're not going to be asked to do various different things on various different games. And the wide players are going to be where you get the tactical nuance. And having that spine set and ready to go on a consistent basis, I think is going to be huge.
And it's going to get better with time. We've only played 6 games so far, 7 games so far, 4 preseason games, but 3 competitive games. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, preseason. Now, when you're in the preseason, it's hugely important.
Yeah.
But now that we're in the regular season, that doesn't count at all. Okay, here's my final declarative statement to all 250 people watching us right now. Inter Miami is going to win the CONCACAF Champions Cup. I am convinced. I have come to the realization that this is the most important tournament for Inter Miami this year. I did not have that realization in the preseason. I know a lot of people would say it's MLS Cup, but this is the big one. And the reason is this is how you declare yourself not just the best team in MLS, but one of the great teams of MLS. This is how you declare yourself as the best team in North America. And it has huge ramifications moving forward for not just the club, but the legacy of every player involved. The Seattle Sounders are the only team that have won this tournament in its modern day rendition from the MLS. And that team gave up so much to be able to do that. And yet it was rewarded in huge ways with both the prestige, the expectations, and even getting this Club World Cup bid because of that. I think this is the tournament that matters the most. And I think because we're at this point in the season, that's going to be the focus of every player on the team, including Lionel Messi, and most importantly, Lionel Messi. I will just say, of all the great players in the history of the world, very few have won the Champions League in multiple continents. Now, some of them have done it, but Messi could put himself in another rare tier that some of his peers of modern age have not accomplished. The Neymars, the Ronaldos, the etc. So that's my final word. I think they're going to I think this is the most important thing to them right now, and I think they're going to win it. I think they have the talent, the depth, and I'm excited to watch it happen, man. I really am.
Yeah.
And the only thing that I thought might trip them up was not getting out hot enough and just getting upset before they even got going. But now, getting through Sporting Kansas City, they'll get through Cavalier, and then they'll be off to the races. And I think they're going to win the whole thing. That's my declarative statement.
I think we are the favorites. Whether we get it done or not, that's to be seen.
No, I'm telling you. I'm telling you right now. We're going to get it
I
done.
won't spoil your declarative statement. I'll just say this. If and when Inter Miami does win the trophy, it's going to be fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
And then after that, they still have to go hard, but then they can take it easy a little bit.
Of course. But once they win it, they can take it easy.
Yeah.
But they have to go hard first.
Yes. Okay, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. I apologize for getting a little late on the stream and getting it public, but it was fun nonetheless. Thank you for joining us in the chat. As always, we'll be back tomorrow with a full game recap. We'll rewatch the game, do awards, breakdowns, player analysis, all of that stuff. So I hope you join us. If you haven't watched the game, watch it and then join us for that and get in the chat and tell us your thoughts. But until then, guys, I hope you have a wonderful night. Enjoy this win. Enjoy this advancing to the next round of a tournament that we're on the verge of winning. And we will see you guys tomorrow. Have a lovely night. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Do us a favor and hit that like and subscribe button. Since our first viewer, sharing this with you all has been the very best part. So from the beginning until the end, thank you for being a part of this and have a wonderful day.